Yes, indeed, Israel. Our wayward little brother, it feels like. I mean, my God, I kind of get how England feels a little bit now. You know? The situation is this. Israel has just voted to essentially defang its Supreme Court. Here's a local news station breaking it down.
We are back with an update on the unrest in Israel. Demonstrators taking to the streets today in Jerusalem after lawmakers passed a controversial bill to limit when the Supreme Court can intervene in government actions.
In response, businesses are closing their doors and thousands of military reservists say they won't report for duty. ABC's Faith Abube has the latest.
Anger on the...
Well, the rest of this is a bummer. Right there. That's your little slice of hope. The people in Israel are still decent. They are under an authoritarian government. They are under an apartheid government, frankly. And by the way, we ought to stop supporting them. We're not helping the people of Israel when we encourage their government to be ruthless like this. We're not being good allies by never questioning our support. Just like our allies are not good allies by sticking with us when Trump was in charge, or by joining us in our crusade in the Middle East. We're not being good allies by sticking with Israel when they do just anything at all. But take some heart, because the people are not putting up with this nonsense.
Streets of Jerusalem as widespread protests against a multi-stage plan to overhaul the judicial system intensify. Thousands packing the streets, some tying themselves to each other near the Supreme Court, and police officers seen blasting demonstrators with water cannons.
We're here to protect our democracy. We were left with no choice but to go to disobedience.
Inside the Israeli parliament, opposition lawmakers storming out in defiance. The remaining members of the Knesset unanimously passing a highly controversial measure to limit the court's power to block government decisions it deems unreasonable.
I am 100% in favor of this judicial reform. I think my country needs it.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and allies argue that the plans to overhaul the judiciary is about returning power to the government. But critics have called it a full-blown coup meant to crush Israel's Supreme Court and protect Netanyahu, who's facing criminal charges for bribery and corruption.
Shouldn't have done the going out screen there. Yeah, it is that. It is completely that. And that lady calling it judicial reform. Well, it is that, technically. Sort of like how if you burn down a bakery, you'd be making well-done bread. Technically true. Ridiculous. And boy, whatever propaganda outlets they have working there, doing their job, giving people the talking points.
The long-serving leader has dismissed the allegations and called criticism that the judicial reform would destroy democracy.
That Mr. Peanut-looking mother effer, by the way, is Benjamin Netanyahu, and he's a war criminal. You should know that.
Absurd. The Monday vote coming just hours after Netanyahu was released from the hospital after a two-night stay where he was fitted with a pacemaker, according to his doctor. Meantime, the White House calling the passing of the judicial overhaul bill unfortunate.
Major changes in a democracy should be, if they're going to be enduring, must have as broad a consensus as possible.
President Biden said it didn't make sense for Netanyahu to move ahead with the plans for judicial overhaul, saying that given the range of threats and challenges facing Israel right now, the plan has become more divisive, not less. But the White House says the U.S. will continue to support Israeli leaders to build a broader consensus through political dialogue. In Washington, Faith Abube, ABC News.
All right, so some points of clarity. Number one, I'm actually not. I'm not against even a country getting rid of its highest court. Hell, I'm not against this country getting rid of its highest court. One I'm talking to you from right now. Context matters, though. Benjamin Netanyahu committed crimes. This is no different than if we. This is no different than if we kept replacing judges until somebody who was willing to give Trump a pass was the judge in charge. That's the problem I have here. I don't even understand enough about how Israel's Supreme Court works to tell you if this was a long time coming. But I'll tell you this. It's not a coincidence that it's happening when Netanyahu's ass is on the line. And Biden has the wrong idea. What did he do? Again, he did the same thing that he always does with right-wingers. Tisk, tisk, but there will be no consequences. I'm unhappy with you, Israel, but we're going to continue to support you completely, never asking questions. There is nothing you can do, Israel. Not a genocide, not colonizing the land of the Palestinians. Nothing you can do that will lose our support. And so, go on being warlords with our bullets. Go ahead. If you're unhappy about this, as I am, I would recommend you do Israel a favor by writing your representative, link in the description, and telling them to speak out against this. I have asked podcasters and their audiences from other countries to sanction the United States when we do things that are deserving of sanctions. I've asked this of them because we need the world to come together and demand decency. Let's get that started here. Write your representatives. Tell them you want to hear them speaking out against Israel. This behavior is corrupt. We should treat it as such. Stop supporting them till they get their act straight.